Okay, this is a new segment I'm going to start doing just to get in touch with my anxiety and to hopefully help some others and help myself overcome my social anxiety. So, I guess I'll start off by just talking a little bit about myself. I am 44 years old right now. I have been suffering with social anxiety for most of my life. I can remember being shy even as a young child. I can remember my first day of kindergarten, of having to go to school, and the intense fear I felt of being separated from my parents. I can remember as I got older, I believe there was a traumatic event that happened in my family which resulted with my mother being taken out of the home. And as a result of that event, I do believe that I went from shyness to full blown social anxiety. After that, I tended to turn inwards. I tended to avoid people and situations. And I often tended to escape to my own, whether at that time it could have been reading or video games or just going for walks by myself or sticking to myself. I'd have my other times when I was being a little more social, more outgoing, but it became a kind of a roller coaster where I'd spend just started spending more and more time alone. So that was fine. That pretty much went on as I started going to into a junior school, and as I started to, I guess, enter puberty and stuff like that, the disconnect became more prominent because then you were expected to interact with your peers and especially the opposite sex. So that threw a whole new dynamic into the equation, and I felt myself being fearful of interacting with the opposite sex. I was fearful of rejection, so I wouldn't, ask for a date or anything like that. I also started to use alcohol as a social lubricant, as a way to come out of my shell a bit and be able to interact with people. But of course, this often backfired as I would do something foolish while drinking, and then I'd get right anxious about that the next day and going forward, depending on what the activity was. So that caused a lot of negative effects as well. So I guess from there I started into my young adulthood, and I went out in the world on my own. I got through high school, and I avoided college and anything like that, and eventually found a job just working in a supermarket, working night shifts and grocery clerk and stuff like that. So I was kind of out of the limelight for those first few years, and that made things a little easier. And I did eventually meet a woman, and we had a child together at a young age. And I guess I kind of isolated myself from the outside world. So this went on for, I guess, 5 or 6 years, and then I ended that relationship. And I did start to become a little more social, I guess out of necessity. I started to, organize events such as hockey, get everyone together for that. I started to hang out with people or just talk to people more. I guess, when you're on your own, you find these opportunities a lot easier. I tend to turn inwards when I go to a relationship or put all my focus and energy on the relationship. And then I met another woman who I've been with pretty much ever since. So, and this relationship also caused me to turn inwards. and to just focus on the relationship to the exclusion of friends, family, and a social circle. And of course, as the years kept going, my world just continued to get smaller and smaller. And this was all, I should say that as all this was going on, I did learn a lot about myself, and I did get involved in the self-help, genre, and started doing a lot of things that focused on self-help, never really zeroing in on the social anxiety aspect till about 5 years ago. So about 5 years ago, I came across a program through my self-help studies, which was called Overcoming Social Anxiety Step by Step by Dr. Thomas A. Richards. Great program, still using it now, still use it just this very day. And through that program, I start to really recognize and learn about social anxiety and how it has affected my day-to-day life. And by learning different aspects of social anxiety, how does it affect me, and how my negative thoughts and beliefs and my thinking distortions were stopping me from challenging and doing some of the exciting things that you would do as a normal developing person, I started to challenge some of these beliefs, and I started to use some of these cognitive strategies, and eventually got into some of the behavioral aspects of the program, which of course involved acting. So the cognitive is really changing your thinking, and the behavior is changing your acting, and the therapy is just help. So by combining the two and getting into the acting, which is going out and being more social or challenging your beliefs through exposure, doing things that you're afraid to do, learning that it's no big deal, and by learning this, you, I guess, desensitize yourself to certain social situations, and you're learning different cognitive lessons at the same time. So it was really great. I've added a lot of study and other courses or study work or different type things to it as I went along, and I had a lot of fun. I was just talking to a guy last night we did some exposures with, and we were talking about how much fun we had doing them. But to get back on track, I guess from this experience, I could see from the Dr. Richards program that a great, I guess, asset to overcoming social anxiety is to have a group, or to do group therapy, to be able to get in a group with like-minded people, challenge your beliefs, and do some of the exposures together. So I checked around a couple of years ago, probably about 4 years ago, and there was nothing available in my area. So what I did was create a group, created a local group, which still runs today. And that was probably, like I said, 4 years ago now. And then a year or so after that, I created a Skype group online, which is still going to this day. And another method I should add, 2 of those groups were great and still are great. Met some great people. I've been able to help some people, and some people have helped me. And also some other things I've done was join Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a great program to improve your public speaking skills, and has lots of opportunity for exposure, lots of opportunity for uncomfortableness, and lots of opportunity to challenge your fears. So I'd highly recommend Toastmasters. Youper, I found, is a great social anxiety app that I've been using as of late, along with many other things. I must say it's a journey of self-discovery. There's no quick pill. There's no magic solution to this social anxiety thing. So I found that all I can do is improve myself step by step in a slow, hierarchical fashion. And that's what I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. and I'm going to continue to do that and continue to make progress. So that is just a little bit about me, about my journey with social anxiety, about where it started and where I'm to now. I still have a long ways to go, but I've made some great progress the past couple of years, especially last year when I set some pretty smart goals, and so they were specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. I guess it's that, if I remember correctly. But anyway, I did set a specific goal to decrease my social anxiety by a certain level, and I attained that goal. But as to attain that goal, I had to do a lot of exposures, a lot of speeches, a lot of different tasks throughout the year. And by doing that, it enabled me, and by setting that goal and sticking to it, enabled me to increase my social anxiety. So I still have a ways to go, but I really am enjoying the journey. I'm enjoying the process. I see social anxiety as almost like kind of a blessing now, not the curse that I always thought it was. And the journey of self-growth and self-discovery that I'm making by overcoming social anxiety is teaching me so much more than, anxiety coping techniques. It's teaching me life lessons, different things that can be used in every area of my life. So if you are suffering with social anxiety or any anxiety, and we all have some stress, anxiety, depression, things like that, I highly recommend CBT. I highly recommend going on your own journey of self-discovery, and who knows, maybe you'll learn a lot of things about your own life. It's been a great journey. I think I'll wrap it up now, but remember, there's no magic cure, there's no magic bullet. You have to put in the time, you have to put in the work, but it's well worth it in the long run. It's quite the journey. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm going to keep going, and I'm not going to stop until I overcome this thing called social anxiety.